Well, good afternoon, Joey.
Hi, sir.
How you doing today?
Good, good.
I'm Mr. Penny, and as you know, we have been talking to your parents, and we've been talking to your homeroom teacher, and we've decided that because you've been having a little bit of challenges with your reading, that we should do some activities here today in order to help you figure out your strengths and weaknesses, so we can figure out, how we can make you increase how easy the work is for you, basically. So we have your teacher's permission, we have your parents' permission, but what I really want to know is, are you willing to do this activity?
Sure.
Okay. Um, you just got back from lunch. Have you had a chance to eat, get something to drink, everything you need to do?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good? All right then. So we're going to get started. So basically, I'm going to be just flipping through some papers here, and you're just going to respond in the best way you know how. So if you have any questions, let me know. But other than that, hopefully we'll have some fun with this.
Okay.
So, okay, Joey, what are these words?
Heave,
Okay,
large,
okay,
strangle,
okay,
expense,
all right. Can you tell me what these four words are?
find, warm, exit, and watch.
Okay, thanks, Joey. What are these words?
Passage, wreck, amazement, and massive.
Okay, Joey, thank you. Right, what are these words?
French, spectacular, mechanic, prudent, wounded, blunt.
Great, next. All right, what are these words?
Epidemic,
Okay,
proximity,
okay,
embarrass,
okay,
judge,
okay,
violate,
okay.
add.
All right. You're doing great, Joey. Thanks. Okey-dokey, Joey. What are these words?
Tree,
Okay,
frog,
okay,
hum.
what's this word?
D.
What are these words?
Thin.
Mm-hmm.
Tin.
Okay. All right, say these words, please.
Flip. Threads.
Good.
Wheat.
Okay. All right, what are these words?
Lofty. One hip.
Okay.
Map.
Okay. And what are these words?
Adjects. Salmon.
Okay.
Grape.
Okay.
Didn't.
Okay. All right, what are these words?
Laced.
Okay.
Edge. Way.
Okay.
Tongue.
Thanks, Jay. You're doing very well. How are you feeling?
Good.
Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read you um, a selection from a story. And what you're going to do is you're going to try to answer questions based on what I'm reading to you in the selection. Does that sound good? Good. All right. So, Chelsea found a spot next to the pool, sat down her towel, and put on her goggles. Taking a handful of coins from her bag, she closed her eyes, threw the coins high in the air, and listened as they splashed in the water. For the rest of the afternoon, Chelsea pretended she was diving for a sunken treasure. Okay, the question is, Joey, why did Chelsea throw the coins in the water?
So that she could pretend to be sort of for something treasure.
Okay, thank you, Joey. Okay, next. Miguel put a large bowl on the table and washed all the vegetables under cold water. Next, he tore a bunch of green leaves into pieces and put them in a bowl. Then, he sliced the rest of the vegetables and added them. Finally, he picked up 2 large spoons to mix everything together. He wiped his hands on a towel and called out, "It's ready!" Here's the question. What is Miguel most likely making?
Salad.
Right, thanks, Joe. Right, we're doing the same thing here. The British sport of cricket is generally similar to American baseball. In both sports, each game is divided into innings during which one team bats while the other fields. One way these sports differ is in how long the games last. Unlike baseball, a cricket game can last from several hours to several days. The question is, Joe, what is one way the sports of cricket and baseball differ?
How long do games last?
Thank you, Joe. All right, next, still the same scenario. Sarah wakes up early every morning to deliver newspapers. Yesterday, Sarah's friend invited her to a late night concert. Even though Sarah really wanted to attend the concert, she had to tell her friend that she couldn't go. Question is, why couldn't Sarah go to the concert?
She just didn't want to.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Number 11. The last of the sunlight was fading behind the trees, and Jamar realized it would be dark soon. He continued along the trail, noticing that it split in two directions up ahead. Now that the daylight was nearly gone, he realized he was unsure about which direction he was heading in. He stopped to check his trail map again, and found that his hands were shaking. Stop it, he scolded himself silently. Jamar suddenly regretted not taking a wilderness training course. Question is, why did Jamar regret not having taken the wilderness training class?
Does he really like the wilderness?
Thank you, Joe. Alright, next question. Ever since kindergarten, Ling knew she loved to draw and paint. In her high school art classes, she discovered many types of materials she knew she couldn't afford using only her babysitting money. Lost in thought, Ling began petting her dog. Then she thought of several neighbors who had dogs and were often desperate to find a dog sitter. Suddenly, she smiled and thought, I'll start my own dog walking business. Question is, why did Ling decide to start a dog walking business?
So that she could use the money to buy her supplies?
Thank you. Same situation. In 1960, Wilma Rudolph became the first American woman to win 3 gold medals at the Olympics. Despite this achievement, when Wilma was younger, she could barely walk due to a battle with polio. Although it was an unlikely start for a track and field superstar, Wilma rose above the physical challenges she faced growing up and became one of the most celebrated female athletes of her generation. The question is, why is Wilma Rudolph's success so inspiring or surprising?
Because she was sick when she was younger, but she still won all those medals.
Right, next. The planet Jupiter features a large storm system that is more than 3 times the size of Earth. Called the Great Red Spot, this storm system has been compared to a large hurricane on Earth. However, the Great Red Spot has been raging for at least 400 years. This may be because, unlike many hurricanes, this storm system never passes over land and is regularly fed by the heat source of the planet's interior. Question is, what can the Great Red Spot be compared to on Earth?
A hurricane.
Thank you, Joe. More than 1 million years ago, Nearly all of Italy was underwater. Recently, Italian researchers discovered a 4 million-old whale skeleton 6 miles inland from the Mediterranean Sea. How did a whale skeleton end up 6 miles inland?
Because it used to be underwater.
Right. Thank you, Joey. Next question. An icebreaker is a special type of ship that is used to clear frozen shipping lanes. Contrary to belief, these ships don't push through the ice. Instead, the specially rounded, steel-strengthened balls of the icebreakers allow these ships to rise on top of the ice and break it with their own weight. The ships also use very strong electric motors that have great power, even at low speeds. When clearing shipping lanes, how do icebreakers break ice?
They land on it with their own weight and it breaks the ice.
Old hoses can reveal a lot about the history and lives of the people who once lived there. People would often put ordinary objects behind walls or in unused chimneys. Shoes are commonly found, as well as keys, coins, and newspapers. The reasons for hiding the objects aren't always clear, but it's always interesting to try to piece together the past. The question is, according to the passage, what can old houses help us learn about the past?
The people that live there, their belongings, and their life.
Right, thank you, Joe. The Amazon rainforest is home to the most diverse species of animals and plants on Earth. Scientists believe that its thick layer of towering treetops sustains nearly half the Earth's animal species. This upper layer, which absorbs sunlight and water through leaves, provides nutrients for the animal life that live among the branches. Moreover, it shades the abundance of animal and plant life further down. Surprisingly, this rich layer of light has flourished despite sprouting from extremely poor soil. What part of the Amazon rainforest most supports life?
In the treetops, the top layer of the trees.
There are two major types of amnesia, retrograde and anterograde, frequently depicted in television and movies. Retrograde amnesia is the inability to remember events from the past. Anterograde amnesia, on the other hand, is the inability to create new memories. One of the most heavily studied amnesia patients is a man called EP. EP has vivid memories from his childhood, but cannot remember new information. Why would a doctor not diagnose EP with retrograde amnesia?
Because he can remember things from his past.
Thank you. You're doing very well. Some settlers to the American prairies built their houses out of sod. Which was cheaper and more readily available than wood? Sod provided a home that was cool in the summer and warm in the winter, but heavy rains often seeped through. According to the passage, what are some of the advantages of building houses out of sod?
It provides protection from the rain, and water doesn't seep through.
The easiest way to tell the difference between most alligators and crocodiles is by the shapes of their noses, whereas an alligator has a wide snake-shaped snout. The crocodile's narrower snout is V-shaped. With its wider snout, the alligator is able to use its jaws to crush its food, particularly prey with hard shells, such as turtles. The narrower crocodile snout, although still very powerful, is not as well suited for eating prey with hard shells. Why do an alligator's jaws have more crushing power than a crocodile's?
because they're wider and U-shaped, which allows them to crush more easily.
Thank you, Joey. Since its beginning, the Cannes Film Festival has earned a reputation for being one of the largest and most highly acclaimed film festivals in the world. At the festival, filmmakers compete for several prestigious awards. Thousands of international journalists cover the event and broadcast the names of award-winning film directors and actors to audiences around the world. What do filmmakers hope to gain by winning at the Cannes Film Festival?
They can get more money.
Thank you. The source of sound, or musical instruments, in the woodwind family is either the movement of air along an edge or the vibration of one or more reeds. The bassoon is one member of the woodwind family. To produce sound, the player forces air in between two reeds, causing them to vibrate. This vibrating column of air then travels through a long wooden tube before coming out the top and producing sound. Why, Joey, is the bassoon classified as a woodwind instrument?
Because it's big.
Thank you. Although the Library of Congress was established by an act of Congress in 1800, the person primarily responsible for its creation was Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson believed that the country's elected officials needed easy access to information on every subject. His belief that all subjects are important is the rationale behind the comprehensive collection policies of today's Library of Congress. What was the purpose for establishing the Library of Congress?
So people could read the books.
Okay. The Spanish and French languages are descendants of Latin. These languages share many of the same words and grammatical rules. Languages that share characteristics such as similar vocabulary and grammar are probably part of the same language family. Like any family, the members of the language family share the same ancestors. Why are Spanish and French considered to be members of the same language family?
Because the culture is similar.
Thank you, Joey. Alright, switching gears here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read these words out loud. What your job is to do is to tell me its opposite. So, what's this word and what's its opposite?
Different. And the opposite would be the same.
Okay. Alright, what's this word and its opposite?
West.
Mm-hmm.
The opposite would be east.
Mm-hmm. Read this word out loud and tell me its opposite.
Forget. The opposite is remember.
Okay. Next.
Hungry. The opposite is hungrier.
Okay. Next.
Whisper.
Okay.
The opposite is quiet.
Next.
Finale.
Okay.
The opposite is introduction.
All right. What's this word and what's its opposite?
Temporary.
Okay.
The opposite is permanent.
All right. Next.
Fictitious. The opposite is real.
Next word.
None. The opposite is all.
Next.
Pessimist. The opposite is optimist.
Next.
Ignorance. The opposite is knowledgeable. Protagonist. The opposite is antagonist.
Okay, Jake, still same idea. This is elevate, and what would be its opposite?
Elevate. The opposite would be lower.
Okay, go ahead.
Archaic. The opposite would be modern.
Okay.
Sophisticated. The opposite would be rich.
Okay.
Meager. The opposite would be little. Flippant. The opposite would be nonchalant.
Okay.
Spry. The opposite would be open.
All right, Jake. Read this word out loud and tell me another word that means the same this time.
Gift.
Okay.
And another word that means the same would be present.
Go ahead. Go.
Mug. And another word that means the same would be cup.
Okay.
Sketch. Another word that means the same would be drawing.
Oh, okay. This is zero, and another similar word would be
Zero. Word that means the same would be all.
okay.
Locate. Word that means the same would be lose.
Okay.
Ancient. Words that means the same would be old.
Thank you. Same idea. What it would be the same word for tail.
Tale. Word that means the same would be story.
Thank you.
Equivalent. Word that means the same would be equal. Educate. Word that means the same would be teach.
Okay.
Timber. Word that means the same would be wood. Comics. Word that means the same would be animation.
Okay.
Ponder. Word that means the same would be think.
Okay. Same idea. Same word that means the same.
Figurine. Word that means the same would be doll. Agriculture. Wood that means the same would be primary. Transmit. Word that means the same would be send. Ballad. Word that means the same would be song. Inquisitive. Word that means the same would be curious. Humidity. Word that means the same would be dampness.
Okay. Same idea.
Ally. Word that means the same would be partner.
Okay.
Triad. Word that means the same would be two.
Okay.
Agrarian. Word that means the same would be prehistoric.
Okay.
Mundane. Word that means the same would be interesting.
Okay.
Seed. Word that means the same would be steel.
All right. Read this out loud and tell me the answer.
Love. Hate. Good. Evil. Foot. Toes. Hand. Fingers.
Okay.
Empty. Full. Quiet. Loud.
Okay.
Night. Moon. Day. Sunset.
Okay. Same idea. Bears the fur as birds do.
Bear. Fur. Bird. Leg.
Okay. Go ahead.
Whisper. Soft. Yell. Loud.
Okay.
Blanket. Bed. Rug. Floor.
Okay.
Walk. Run. Slow. Fast.
Okay. Same idea. You can go ahead.
Sponge. Scrub. Broom. Sweep. Red. Color. Square. Shape. River. Water. Forest. Trees. Plumber. Wrench. Painter. Brush.
Same idea.
Umbrella. Dry. Sweater. Warm.
Okay.
Act. Play. Chapter. Book. Initiate. Begin. Conclude. End. Skater. Athlete. Violinist. Musician. Comedy. Funny. Tragedy. Sad. Rose. Flower. Elm. Tree.
Keep on going, please.
Claw. Scissors. Wood. Axe.
Okay.
Town. County. State. Country. Adorn. Decorate. Display. On. Carpenter. Wood. Welder. Whip. Building. Pillar. Table. Stool. Water. Well. Old. Stocking.
All right. Okay, Joe, read this to yourself and tell me what word belongs in the blank space. Same idea. What stands missing in the blank space?
Walking.
Same idea.
Under.
What belongs in the space?
Push.
How about right here?
Line.
Good. So read this to yourself and tell me what word belongs in the blank space again.
Don't.
Next.
Monkeys.
Okay. Same idea.
That's it.
Next.
Computer.
Thank you. All right, read this to yourself and tell me what word belongs in the blank space once again.
Mountains.
Good. All right, next question.
Brown.
Thank you. Same idea.
Sheep.
Thank you. Question.
Brown.
Thank you. And again, this would be the same idea. Just read it to yourself and tell me what missing word is.
Owner.
Okay, next.
Living.
Great, Joe. You can just keep on going.
On.
Okay. Next, Joe.
Antagonist.
Okay, thank you. You can just keep on going.
Small. Shape.
Okay, Joe. Alright, we're going to move on to something just a tad bit different here, but you're doing very well. Okay. We're going to move that out of organized. Alright, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to get you to read a couple of passages. Now, I'm going to keep track both at a time, but you don't have to rush, and just read in your regular voice, okay? Alright. You can go at any time.
It's hard to imagine, but there are over 1 million known species of insects in the world. There are more types of insects than there are types of other animals. Did you know there are hundreds of thousands of fly species and almost as many different species of bees, wasps, and ants that have been discovered so far? Many insects have very sensitive ways of sensing their surroundings. Usually, if they have a well-developed sense of touch, their vision or their hearing is not as accurate. At the same time, if their eyes work extremely well, their senses of hearing and touch are not as strong. Biologists consider some insects to be social. Social insect species include termites, ants, and many types of bees. The members of each of these insect species often live together in big and well-organized groups. These social insects usually have a special talent for finding their way back home.
Alright, thank you, Joey. Okay, Joey, thank you. Now, same idea, just another different passage. Just read through it. I'm going to keep track like last time, but please don't rush. Read again in your regular voice.
Some of the biggest and tallest trees on Earth are the redwood trees. They grow along the California coast. A few redwoods have large tunnels that people have cut through them. The tunnels are big enough to drive a car through. There are also some redwood trees in California that are taller than the Statue of Liberty in New York City. Redwoods are also among the world's oldest trees. Some of them live over 2,000 years. They are not even fully grown until they are over 400 years old. Redwood trees are evergreens. Other kinds of trees lose their leaves in the winter every year, but evergreen trees have green leaves all year. Redwood trees have big branches with leaves that look like tiny needles. They also have thick red bark. The bark protects the trees from fire.
Well, Joey, that does conclude our time together today. I just want to thank you for how great you were during this assessment. I know it's a long time to be sitting around doing the same thing, but you did wonderful. And this is going to be a great help for us, your parents, and your teachers to help you basically do in class the way you like to succeed in class.
Thanks, sir.
So I want you to have a wonderful afternoon. And summer vacation, that's coming up quite quickly as well. I hope to see you again, and it was a pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one, Joe.
Bye-bye.